ancient India, what's the first thing that pops into your head? Yoga, maybe? Spices? Meditation? And yeah, those are definitely part of the picture, but they're really just the tip of the iceberg. Today, we're diving into something way bigger, way more complex, the Indian knowledge system. So let's get right into it. What if I told you that a book famous for being about love and relationships also had a chapter on secret codes, or that ancient texts seriously discussed the mechanics of flying machines? Well, welcome to the Indian knowledge system, or IKS. It's a world of knowledge that's way more vast and, frankly, way cooler than most of us ever learned. All right, so let's push past all the familiar stuff. We're going to explore what this system was really all about. And it's not just a collection of philosophies or old spiritual texts. Think of it more like a comprehensive framework, a kind of operating system designed to understand and navigate the world. At its heart, the IKS was this amazing attempt to connect everything. It was a structured way of thinking that believed the stars up in the sky, the society we live in, and our own inner consciousness weren't separate things at all. They were all part of one interconnected system. And that holistic vision is what makes it so powerful.
Okay, let's jump into our first big area. And trust me, this is where things get really fascinating. We're going to look at ancient science, technology, and, yep, even secret codes. This is where the IKS totally shatters expectations.
So long before we had giant telescopes, you had these brilliant minds called Jyotishas. They were the astronomers of ancient India, and they were absolute masters of observation. With just their eyes and some incredible math, they charted the stars, tracked the planets, and built some seriously sophisticated calendars. And this wasn't just guesswork, They had a handbook. A foundational text called the Surya Siddhanta laid out the math behind it all. It contains these unbelievably detailed methods for calculating how planets move and, get this, for accurately predicting solar and lunar eclipses. It's just mind-blowing. And the math gets even crazier. Back in the 5th century, the legendary astronomer Aryabhata did two incredible things. First, he proposed a heliocentric model, the idea that the Earth goes around the sun, which was a huge deal. And second, he calculated the value of pi to this insane degree of accuracy. We're talking 1,000 years before similar calculations were done in Europe. But this system wasn't just about looking up at the cosmos. It was also very focused on what was happening right here on Earth between people. And that included the need for a little secrecy. So let's pivot from the stars to the world of ancient cryptography. Okay, this is one of my absolute favorite examples because it comes from the last place you'd expect. Tucked away inside the Kama Sutra is a whole section on something called Mleccha Vikalpa, which is basically a guide to writing in code. It describes things like substitution ciphers, all so that lovers could send secret messages to each other. It's an early and very human reason to invent encryption. And that same drive for knowledge extended to building things in the physical world, too. The IKS is full of amazing insights into engineering, covering everything from the super practical to the, well, wildly imaginative. And this slide just shows you that incredible range. On one hand, you have the Grand Anicut, a massive dam built almost 2,000 years ago that is still in use today. That's a stunning piece of water management. And on the other hand, you have the Vimānika Shāstra. Now, this is a pretty debated text for sure, but it describes these conceptual flying machines. It shows that they were at least thinking about ideas like aerodynamics and flight. So we've seen how the IKS looked at the natural and technical world. Now let's shift gears and look at how it created a detailed blueprint for organizing society itself, covering everything from economics to law and order. Now, this is a really crucial point. Unlike a lot of modern thinking that keeps economics and ethics in separate boxes, the IKS saw them as completely linked. The economy, or Arthavyavastha, had to operate inside the framework of Dharma, the principle of ethical and right conduct. So sure, creating wealth was important, but it had to be done in an ethical way. And you see this same structured approach in government. Ancient texts like the famous Arthaśāstra lay out this highly organized system. It wasn't just a king on a throne making random decisions. It was a whole layered bureaucracy with a council of ministers for advice and a clear chain of command that went from the provinces all the way down to the villages. And the entire playbook for all of this was called Nīti Shāstra. You can think of it as the science of statecraft. It covered everything: civil law, criminal law, diplomacy, even military strategy.
It was the complete instruction manual for creating a just and stable society.
So we've gone from the macro level of society, and now the IKS zooms right into the micro level of our own personal experience. It had a really sophisticated way of understanding the arts and super detailed practices for self-development. When it came to the performing arts, the goal wasn't just to entertain, it was to make the audience feel a very specific emotion. This is the theory of rasa, and as you can see, they had it all mapped out. Every performance, whether it was dance, music, or theater, was expertly designed to deliver one of these precise emotional flavors to the audience. And this brings us to something that a lot of people know about, but maybe not in this way. Within the IKS, yoga isn't just about physical exercise. It's a deeply systematic, highly structured science for understanding and mastering your own mind and body. The classic text, the Yoga Sutras, lays out this incredible 8-limbed path. And what's so important to see here is that the physical postures, or asana, which is what most of us think of as yoga, that's only step 3. The real journey starts with ethics, then moves through body and breath control, and it all leads towards these incredibly deep states of meditation. It's a complete roadmap to your inner world. So, we have journeyed from science to society to the self. As we start to bring this all together, what's the big takeaway? What does all this tell us about the Indian knowledge system as a whole? I think this quote just nails it. The common thread that connects astronomy to art and government to self-awareness is this powerful idea of an integrated reality. Every single piece of knowledge was seen as part of a much bigger, interconnected whole. So let's just do a quick flyby one more time. We've talked about advanced astronomy and secret codes. We've seen incredible engineering, an economic system built on ethics, detailed frameworks for law, the emotional science of the arts, and the structured path of yoga. When you see it all laid out like this, you realize just how unbelievably vast and sophisticated this whole body of knowledge truly was. And that really leaves us with one final big thought. This was a system from a very different time, for sure. But its core principles, things like integrated thinking, linking our actions to our ethics, understanding that deep connection between us and the universe, those ideas feel timeless. So the real question is, what can we learn from it today?